Greetings, great learners. My name is Mr. Simbi and welcome to today's accounting class. In today's class, I'm talking cost accounting. Cost accounting. I have a practice question with me here and it reads, DK Boutiques makes bracelets and sells them in their accessory shop in Wheatbank. They produced 4,000 bracelets during the month of June. The bracelets are sold at a markup of 50%. They provide the following information, and there is the information that we have been provided with. All right, let's see the demands of the question. List two fixed costs from the list below. So we have this list and we are required to list two fixed costs. Two fixed costs. Let's see if we can do that. Okay. The first one, fixed cost, is rent for the accessory shop. That is the first fixed cost. Number two, rent for the bending machine. That is the second fixed cost. The third one, so we are talking about, first one is this rent, and we also rent for the bending machine. After you have your rent of bending machine, we will need the third one. I know the question only wants two. Let's see if we can get a third one. The third one is the transport to the shop. The transport to the shop, this one, that becomes number three rather, on the fixed cost. That becomes number three on the fixed cost. The number four, lastly, it is the salary of the salesperson. That also is the fixed cost. Let's go and see what question 2 demands from us. Question number 2 then reads, list two variable costs from the list below. Two variable costs from the list below. All right, so already the fixed cost that we've mentioned will not be part of this. So the first one is going to be the wire beads and stoppers. The wire beads and stoppers. These will vary. They will change depending on the number of bracelets that we would have produced. Number 2, wages for making the bracelets. The wages will also vary depending on the amount of bracelets that we would have produced. So far we've answered question 1 and question 2. Question 1 wanted us to list the fixed cost. Question 2 wanted us to list the variable cost. Let's see question 3. Question 3 says, calculate the fixed cost from the list below. Calculate the fixed cost from the list below. So here we're going to calculate the fixed cost. Let us therefore begin. The first one that we're going to have is rent for the accessory shop, which is 5,250. The next one is rent of the bending machine, the 1,050 there. So we have 2 so far. Number 3, it is the transport to the shop. There it is, 1,200. I come and I edit here. Number 4, the salary of the salesperson, 9,000. I also have it there. So once I have these ones, then I can total them off. The total becomes 16,500. That becomes the fixed cost from the information that we are given. All right. Question number 4 then says, calculate the fixed cost per unit. Fixed cost per unit. You have to know that this is the total fixed cost of 16,500. But when we have used 16,500 as our fixed cost, we should have produced 4,000 units, 4,000 bracelets. So if we want to find the cost per unit, we will then say the total fixed cost, which is your 16,500. Then we divide it by the number of units, your 4,000 units. If we divide this, it should give us the cost per unit, which is 4 Rand 13. 4 Rand 13 therefore becomes the cost per unit, the fixed cost per unit. So we took the total fixed cost, and we divided it by the number of units produced. That is what we did. The total fixed cost, 16.5. Then we divided by the number of units produced, and we end up with 4 Rand 13. Number 5, it reads, calculate the variable cost from the list below. Now we want variable cost. Already we've identified them earlier, if you still remember. So it becomes easy, therefore, when we calculate. Let's see if we can do that. The first one is going to be the wire beads and the stoppers. The wire beads and the stoppers. Here is the wire beads and the stoppers. They're costing us 15,000. All right? The second one, it is the wages for making the bracelets. The wages are costing us 18,000. That is the wages. And these are all the variable costs there are. All right? So after I add these two, they'll give me 33,000. That becomes my total variable cost. My total variable cost. When I have my total variable cost, I am then able to calculate the variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit. How do I do that? I'll take my total variable cost, I divide it by the number of units produced. So I'm taking my 33,000 and I divide it by the number of units produced, that is 4,000 units. 4,000 units. So this is rands and this is 4,000 units. All right. And once I do that, I should get 8 Rand 25. 8 Rand 25. That becomes my variable cost per unit. There you see there. 8 Rand 25. Number 7 reads, calculate the total cost of production. The total cost of production. When I'm calculating my total cost of production, I have to be very careful. I have to know what information do I have. At the moment, I have my fixed cost and I have my variable costs. That is what I have at the moment. All right. I know that if I'm to get my total cost of production, I have to add my fixed cost plus my variable cost. Once I add those two, they'll give me my total cost of production. I know my fixed cost is how much? 16,500. And my variable cost is 33,000. So if I add these two amounts, I'll end up with my total cost of production. So I'll simply say 16.5 plus 33,000, that gives me 49,500. That is my total cost of production. And once I have my total cost of production, it becomes easy, therefore, to calculate the total cost of production per unit. Per unit. All right? The total cost of production per unit. How do I do that? I take my total cost of production, which I've just calculated here, 49,500. And then I divide by the number of units produced. Remember, we produced 4,000 units. We produced 4,000 bracelets. So I take my total cost of production. Remember, it was an addition of these two figures, 49.5, divided by the number of units produced, 4,000. That would then give me 12 Rand 38. 12 Rand 38 cents. All right? 12 Rand 38 cents. Once you get the 12 Rand 38 cents, you have calculated the total cost of production per unit. Dear learners, let's go for an ad break and I'll see you shortly.